Hi, I'm Jeff Holden. Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. Our purpose and passion is to highlight a nonprofit organization in each weekly episode, giving that organization an opportunity to tell their story in their words to better inform and educate the respective communities they serve, as well as provide one more tool for them to share their message to constituents and donors. Our goal is to help build stronger communities through shared voices and to both encourage and support the growth of local nonprofit organizations through podcasting. Thanks to our partners for their support in getting these stories told. SMUD, Sacramento Metropolitan Utility District's Shine Awards program benefiting nonprofits for energy efficiency. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations, and Western Health Advantage, a full-service healthcare plan for individuals, employer groups, and families. The sudden and unexpected death of anyone is always traumatic, but even more so when it's a young, healthy, vibrant, and dynamic person one could never imagine passing away. In this episode, I'm speaking with Brad Barroso on how his family has transformed their grief over the loss of their son Trevor into a powerful mission of hope and advocacy for organ donation. Following Trevor's sudden death from an asthma attack in 2018, his choice to become an organ donor saved 3 lives, a legacy that sparked the creation of Trevor's Second Chance Foundation. Through challenging conversations, Brad shares the emotional journey his family endured and their ongoing commitment to supporting other families navigating organ donation. The episode highlights the foundation's efforts in raising awareness, providing emotional and logistical support, and building community partnerships to sustain their mission. There's encouraging progress in the organ donor benefits as 2024 represented the highest annual total ever with 132 transplants averaged per day. That's a nearly 4% jump over the year prior. And we can do better. There are over 100,000 people on the transplant waiting list, and sadly, 13 people will die each day while waiting. To date, approximately 60% of eligible adults are registered organ donors. Join us as we celebrate Trevor's enduring legacy and the Barroso family's dedication to generosity over grief. Brad Barroso, welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network.
Thank you for inviting me in.
As we get started on this conversation, which is truly a sensitive one, it involves deep personal loss. If you would share with us what the situation is that brought us to this point and actually to this conversation.
Sure. 2018, ended up losing our son, Trevor, to an asthma attack. And fortunately, I think the only thing that came out of it that was, or one of the few things that came out was positive, was he was an organ donor. So there's 3 people alive today because of his donations.
How old was Trevor?
He was 26 years old.
Okay, so young, with some really vibrant, healthy organs as well.
Very healthy, great shape, had asthma since he was about 3 years old. And unfortunately, just kind of stopped taking it seriously as he got older. Kind of like, thought he was invincible, kind of like I did at 26, I think. And wasn't taking it quite as seriously as he should have.
I don't think that's uncommon. I mean,
No, not at all. I think at that age, you kind of think we're invincible. And
right.
matter of fact, 10 days before I'd gone and met with him, his fiance at the time, and said, hey, he really needed to get some help. And I'd taken him for a treatment 10 days before and kind of got a little upset at him and wished he would be taking better care of himself at the time. So,
did he volunteer the organ donation himself, or was it an event that presented itself because he was so young?
It was an event that presented itself.
Okay.
He and I had a lot of conversations about changing the world when he was younger. And although we didn't have a license with the typical stamp on it, we knew that's what he would want. And so we made that decision at the hospital.
That decision had to be, I don't even know if I would say it as difficult, because you see the good that it's going to do. So I think there's a lot of just emotional challenge in making the decision. How was it for you as a family to decide?
It was 2 outcomes. There were 2 paths that we could go down. It was to either donate the organs and help someone else because our son was now moving on, or say no to helping somebody else. And that was not who Trevor was. He really wanted to change the world. He really thought about that a lot, and it's created quite the ripple effect.
In the process of deciding or even the orientation of that decision, was that one that was being made by the family bedside, or did the hospital originate the conversation? How does that even happen?
Yeah, so there's no conversation with the family until there's a determination. Yeah. The the opportunity or the possibility of organ donation comes up after that event. And I remember specifically at the time, my wife's brother was there. And I remember going to him and saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to decide. I'm not in the right mind. I'm aware enough to know that
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in a good place. Can someone please go check and see if this really is final? Is there another option? Should we leave Trevor on life support? What should we do?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember the amount of time that went into that, but because we were there at the hospital for 3 days during this process, but it came back that there was no other option for Trevor as far as him, coming back from the brain injury
Mm-hmm.
that he had. So it left us just really in our minds one decision, right? Okay, so now let's move forward. And at that point, Sierra Donor Services, which is the company, the intermediary between the hospital and the families, stepped in, and we met a gentleman by the name of Sean Davies, who was fantastic. We've stayed in touch over the years, and they helped with the transition, the information. They really guided us through the process,
Mm-hmm.
and were there to support.
At that point in time, and again, for the benefit of the people who are listening who may have this opportunity to help them better understand what this process looks like,
Mhm.
do they at that point then ask the questions about specific organs, or is it just if you are an organ donor, every body part that could be repurposed for the benefit of somebody else is?
You have the option,
Ah, okay.
total organ donation that's possible,
Mm-hmm.
which is what we chose. You can select which organs that you want to donate. Not only did Trevor have a heart recipient, but a pancreas and kidney, and liver and kidney, but also there were cornea, skin. There were some other things that were donated as well. As much as could be harvested was harvested.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have an option on what you choose.
Okay. And you mentioned that there were three beneficiaries that you've actually had the opportunity to at least converse with, if not meet, right?
Yeah. So the way that process works, the family decides. So we decide whether we want to reach out. We reach out through a third party,
Mm-hmm.
and then they reach out to the recipients. And if the recipients decide to respond, which not all do, we found
I can
out,
appreciate that.
and I
Yeah.
can understand that. We were fortunate; all three did. Um, One who just had a birthday a few days ago, actually his heart recipient, we're still in constant contact with. The other woman, Sheila Pell, we still talk with her, infrequently, but once in a while. And then the third party wanted to be anonymous, but they did get back to us to tell us that everything was going well and that they were appreciative
Boy,
of a third party.
how wonderful. What an experience. And I did see on the website you have a picture of meeting
Yeah.
one of the people. I believe that's a gentleman with a heart.
Art, yeah. Great guy.
Yeah. And I don't know if I shared this with you at the time when we first spoke, but you had sent me an email through the website with an interest in doing an episode.
Hmm.
And concurrent to that, almost the same week, a friend of mine had just
Right.
had a heart transplant.
Told me, yeah.
And serendipitous, if nothing else. And
Right.
he had never thought in a million years that anything like that would happen. But his
Mhm.
appreciation and now his awareness
Hmm.
of organ donors is completely different. He's
Right.
alive because of one.
Right.
And, I thought, wait, people don't know this.
Yeah.
And here we are, first person, somebody I know directly
Right.
just was the recipient. People need to be more aware both ways.
And I think one of the things I've found through this process is that, and I tell people this, it's much more likely that you're going to know someone who needs an organ than the possibility of you ever donating one of yours.
Mm-hmm.
because other than a kidney, which you can still donate one,
Mm-hmm.
right? A brain, a heart and lungs and those types of things, you need to pass away in such a manner, right, that they can be harvested, which is
Right.
very, very rare. Like 1% of the chance of you being able to do that.
Well,
So,
and at this age, nobody wants this stuff. There's no, there's nothing
well, I
like
think the oldest donor I think was in her 90s, as I recall.
Oh
And
my gosh.
it was a cornea donation, I believe. It's been a number of years since I heard that story, but so there's still skin and other things at even older ages can still
I
be
didn't
used.
know that. Well,
Yeah,
see, we just shared something else that many people are not going to be aware of.
yeah, yeah,
There's really two core tenets when you go through this process. The first one is the technical part of it, the harvesting of the organs and the distribution of the organs
right,
and all that. The second part of it is really that emotional part of coming to the conclusion that this is what we're going to do. Could you walk us through that in terms of how you went through that? Because it happens very quickly because you can't wait.
mm-hmm.
They need the organs
Mm-hmm.
to be healthy, and duration, I'm sure, is not good in terms of time.
Right.
So maybe touch on both.
Yeah, the mechanics of it. There's a list, and just a little background as far as list. California has around 24,000 people waiting for
Mm-hmm.
donation, and about a third of them will pass away on the list.
Mm.
Okay, so there's a big need for organ donation. I believe it's around 90% are kidneys that people are in need of. So, from a mechanical standpoint, what happened during those days is that we made the decision to move forward. Then everybody kind of jumps in and starts their process. I remember being up one night and they're literally flying blood samples to some of the possible recipients, making sure that it's still a match. 'Cause it's got to be a match still, even though it was a
Mm-hmm.
match prior to. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the background prior to the actual surgery. And then as far as the emotional side of what we're going through at that point, it's kind of a whirlwind, just to be honest with you. As you can imagine, there's a lot of stuff going through, and you look back on it, and for me, it was just kind of being in the, okay, something good is going to come out of this mode.
Mm-hmm.
There was one night where literally giving Trevor CPR because they were saying that he may not survive, to get to the surgery. And I was like, that's not an option. There's going to be something good that's going to come out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of jump into the just do it mode. And then there's not a lot for us to do emotionally except be there for each other and support. And that's where part of the first thoughts, I think, of the foundation came up. There was a gentleman in the next room that no one came to see him in the ICU.
Mm.
And I remember there's a lot of downtime, as you can imagine, while you're there. We literally broke the door off the ICU with all the people that came to see Trevor. And here was this one gentleman. I just remember how sad that was. And that was kind of the first start of how can we help, when people are going through the worst part of their lives, obviously in many cases. So that was a lot of the emotional stuff, was just kind of getting into action a little bit. And maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's my personality. We all handle grief, I think, in different ways. I can tell you that after that, I melted down probably for 3 days straight,
Sure.
right? So it's just kind of jumping into action. And then after the donations, there's not much for us to do. It's just kind of waiting to see if they went well.
Mm.
So there was that part of it.
And they do report back to let you know that the recipients did receive and some sort of an update.
Very limited with HIPAA. I mean, there's
I would imagine, yeah.
yeah, obviously no names or who they
Yes.
are or even where they live or any of that type of information is shared. It's us reaching out
Mm-hmm.
and asking and then basically responding and saying, well, we'll let you know what we can. And if they decide to respond, and a lot of people don't respond for a while because they want to make sure that they're okay. You
Mm-hmm.
can imagine being on the other side of this. The gentleman with the heart, this was his final option, right? He had gone through years and years. And so he was trying to make sure he was going to be okay, before he reached back out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, so from an emotional standpoint, there's just a lot of waiting and then there's a preparation, so now you've got someone that you weren't expecting to have to lay to rest and you've got that whole
Right.
process that you kind of jump into and just start doing next.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned some good to come out of this. And not only did you have a physical good that was demonstrated in 3 other lives,
Mm-hmm.
but you've now got the foundation,
Mm-hmm.
Trevor's Second Chance Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Give us the why behind the foundation.
The why, there are a couple of reasons. There's a couple of whys. One was to keep Trevor's name alive. He, like I said, I keep saying but he really wanted to change the world, and this was a way that we could continue to honor that goal.
Mm-hmm.
Was to help other people and help other people live. So in our thoughts of putting all this together, what could we do to honor him? And the foundation started because he was a big athlete. We started really by putting kids in sports camps. And it wasn't until just recently we got away from that, and we'll do that personally. But we found that there was more of a need in this space, in organ donation. So we kind of pivoted a little bit and said, okay,
Mm-hmm.
we're just going to stay focused on one mission, one thing, and let's see how many people we can get out and talk to, first of all, because there's so little knowledge about organ donation. And then how can we help? How can we build a foundation, raise money and awareness at the same time to then help families that are going through it?
Mm-hmm.
We were fortunate, that we had some means to go through it, not have to be worried about work and jobs and all that and kind of get through. But a lot of people don't have that.
Right.
Right? And that's the other part of the foundation is trying to provide that financial assistance, even if it's just pointing people to
Mm-hmm.
other places where they can get assistance along the foundation.
And those are some of the things that you can find through the organization, through Trevor's Second Chance, is direction,
Outreach.
emotional support,
Mm-hmm.
and even connection to the transport company, Sierra
Share donor services.
Donor Services.
Yeah.
So
Want
if
to
some,
volunteer and help. Yeah.
hmm you also speak,
Mm-hmm.
and you speak on the topic to
Mm-hmm.
various organizations. Who do you speak to?
Actually, my wife and I both go out and speak. We go to Sierra Donor Services. A lot of the hospitals will go and speak.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk to, so here's one aspect of it, is that we'll go talk to the nurses, the ICU nurses, doctors, and even some of the staff from our perspective
Mm-hmm.
and the benefit that they're providing. We talk about how they change the world every day. And so we go and speak. They ask us to come and speak to mostly those groups, and we will share from our perspective what a benefit organ donation is as opposed to the alternative
Mm-hmm.
and point out to them because a lot of them are apprehensive. There's a perception out there that these hospitals are just trying to get your organs and not help you live, which is entirely the opposite.
Right.
But when you're under that stress, you can start to see how people would think that. Well, if I start talking about organ donation or if I put that on my driver's license, they may not want to help me,
Mm-hmm.
right? They may just want to harvest my organs. And so we go out to try and dispel some of that. We'll go out and speak in front of anyone. Anyone who wants help, anyone in the community that wants us to come and talk, then we're open to do it, as time allows.
In the time that you've been doing this, what sort of collaborative efforts do you find? Who are the people you tend to gravitate toward? Who do you work with? Who do you speak to?
A lot of it's hospitals, like we've done rounds with some of the local hospitals.
Yep.
So we'll actually walk through the ICU, introduce ourselves, talk to the nurses. There's a process that they've been working on and fine tuning at a lot of the hospitals because there's a timing to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone is potentially going to be a donor, and then they switch over into becoming now a donor.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a timing to it in a process. So we come through and we'll go and talk with those folks about our experience. And here's what happened with us as a family to help them be a little more comfortable, I think, in the process and see the benefit. And I know we've had, a fair amount of people that nurses, and I could never do what they do, but literally break down in hearing our story and they start to realize what they're doing, part of their job, right? How it affects and how it
Mm-hmm.
affects so many people and so wide. So,
Yeah, even to the point of some of the most challenging moments of sadness
right.
to where that can be converted to benefit and
Yeah.
opportunity and life,
Right.
in
Exactly.
passing, which I think that's where we get hung up easily on it,
Mm-hmm.
but understandable,
For sure. Oh, yeah.
which
Absolutely.
is why you're doing what you do.
Yeah.
Are there other organizations, nonprofits, maybe bereavement or hospice or anything like that you've had the ability to connect with?
Not yet. And it's really been a time thing. I
Sure.
still have a full-time career, and so I'm building this as quickly as we can. I think there's other possibilities, like you and I have talked about. There's some other organizations that I've worked with in the past that I think could really light a fire to
Mhm.
this. It's just having the time to do it.
And you did mention something there relative to, the ability to get to the necessary and or more people,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it rolls into, since it's you, it's volunteer,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm assuming you probably have a few other people who help along the way in terms of things that you might do.
Hmm.
How are you funding what you're doing now, or how do you see the funding coming for the benefit of those families that do need support?
Yeah, primarily it's self-funded. We have had some friends and families and others that have, donated some money. But our goal was to always fund the foundation by not going out and looking for money and asking for money.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that was important to us when we were looking at how we were going to structure this. And so, like we talked about, it's more of a, Tom shoes, Bomba sock type of deal. And about a year ago, we formed a relationship with a company called ASEA Global, and they have a health
And
and wellness.
for the benefit, that's
Yeah,
ASEA
ASEA
Global.
Global. And so they're a health and wellness company. And there was a lot of serendipity in making this choice. Not only their ethos as a company, but ironically, the land that their corporate office sits on, my ancestors used to own. Some of the some of the people that started the company, I have some connections with through friends of friends, and it was a great fit.
Mm-hmm.
Took us a while to find them, but it's been a great fit. So 10% of sales from ASEA Global go to help fund the foundation. So
Okay.
that's part of our growth strategy, as opposed to grants and fundraising, which we will do some of. It's to try and provide products of value that can then fund the foundation.
Mm-hmm. And the better they do, the better you do.
Exactly.
Since it's a 10% thing, like buy more socks, buy more
Yeah.
health products.
And their products help people live healthier lives. So
Yes.
it all kind of fit together synergistically, where, we're here for organ donation, but we'd rather not have to donate an organ. Let's stay healthy.
Right. I can't tell you how many of the organizations we have that sit in that chair
Mm-hmm.
would all love to not be doing what they're doing
Mm,
because the issue that they are dealing with
sure.
has been resolved.
Yeah, absolutely.
And unfortunately, in most cases, that's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
And this is never going to happen because people will always pass.
That's
And
right.
they will always pass suddenly and unexpectedly. And it's always going to be an opportunity
Right.
to make sure that the greatest benefit and good comes from,
Yeah.
that life.
And it's by far the better of the two choices of no donation,
Yes.
right? So now we have something that, Trevor's living on through another person.
Yeah.
And as a parent, that's just a better option.
Yeah. Well, to me, just to imagine that your son's heart is in somebody else that you actually know
Mm-hmm.
and see and
Mhm.
live, and that piece of your son is alive
Yeah.
and will be for the duration and probably outlive you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We actually have a Build-A-Bear. When we went to meet with him, he actually took a recording of the heartbeat inside of him and gave us a bear. So now
oh,
in my office, I've got a
that's
bear that I can
fantastic.
push the button once in a while and listen to Trevor's heart.
Oh,
So
what an amazing experience.
yeah, so it was a very nice gesture on his part, obviously.
The conversation on the decision of organ donation with Brad Barroso continues right after we hear from the people helping to make this program possible.
Hello, this is Scott Thomas with Cap Trust in our Sacramento office. I specialize in working with local nonprofits and associations. Annually, we survey private and public nonprofit organizations across the country to better understand challenges they see in today's environment. In our more recent survey, we heard concerns about proper board governance, mission aligned investment, and how to implement alternative investments. If you would like a copy of the survey or to discuss your organization, look me up, Scott Thomas at captrust.com.
I'm thrilled to have Western Health Advantage partnering with us as they do so much to support so many nonprofit agencies in our community. As a truly local health plan, you'll find individual and family options, employer options, plans for CalPERS and Medicare Advantage. From medical services to pharmacy, health and wellness support, as well as behavioral health care, Western Health Advantage has a plan that fits what you need. As an employer, for profit or nonprofit business, individual or family, you can find more at westernhealth.com. As you look at the organization, and the opportunity that exists in front of it. Money, no object. What would it look like in a couple of years if you could build it to the way you needed to build it, not having to worry about work and a career and everything else?
Yeah, it would be a nationally known name and brand. And we'd be in hospitals all across the country doing what we do and helping people that at their lowest point of their life, in most cases, right, you're facing death, be there to support them and help them with not only our story, but a network of other people that are
Hmm.
just like us. Because we're not alone. We're not the only ones that have gone through this.
Right.
And so it would be a network of people helping people, essentially.
And just across the country to where at any point, from any point, you might be able to even identify, okay, there's somebody in my community I can reach out to who's been through this experience,
Hmm.
maybe in the same hospital system,
Hmm.
maybe the same issues.
Exactly. Yeah, through a large network and be, especially now with technology and AI and all the things that are coming to bear, right,
Hmm.
in society, there's really an opportunity to grow this exponentially across the country to help more people.
Yeah, totally agreed.
Yeah,
And people just don't know.
they don't.
They just don't know.
No, they don't. They don't realize how many generations they can help. For one, a lot of times I'll talk to people and they don't. It doesn't end there. So the people that Trevor helped can now have their own children,
Hmm.
and it'll help the next generation. It's that ripple effect, right, that Trevor and I used to talk about of helping someone, and then they go on to help somebody else.
Right.
So that can be exponential, and it creates an army of people that want to help because I think inherently people are good and they want to help, and sometimes there's just not an avenue to do so.
Hmm.
And I think and feel it's incumbent on at least my wife and I to help people realize that there is an avenue,
Hmm.
right? And organ donation, there's no better, than to lay down your life for a fellow human being, right? And so it's one way that we can do that
Hmm.
and help others.
On the other side of that, now we're looking at greatest need
Hmm.
today as you see it, because you're still a small organization
Hmm.
doing what you can do in the amount of time that you've got.
Hmm.
What is the greatest need that you see today?
I think it's labor, it's help, it's volunteers right now, getting the word out, being willing to go into hospitals and talk to people and spread
Hmm.
the word and provide that assistance. Money is always a thing. The more people that we can get involved, the more scholarships that we can provide. Because that's where part of it came up is that I'll give you a simple thing: a cell phone.
Yep.
So when we were in the hospital, cell phones didn't work. Well, we had the means to be able to go out and get another cell phone, so we did have something that we could communicate with people.
Hmm.
Seems like a small thing, but if you don't have the means, right, to do something just so simple, right, then you're cut off from the world and you're
Right.
adding stress to the most stressful part of your life, probably at
No,
that stage.
I can not only imagine, and I've experienced that. You're in
Right.
the hospital, you have somebody who's got a situation,
Hmm.
and literally the phone doesn't work. So now you've added to the anxiety and the stress, and you don't want
Hmm.
to take anything away from the person that you're there for.
Right.
Yet you can't communicate, and you know everybody's trying to get a hold of you. You're leaving the room, you're going outside, you're trying to get a connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hotel rooms. I mean, people coming from other areas that maybe can't afford to have a hotel room. If they'd love to stay, but they can't stay. So it's taking away some of that stress
Hmm.
during that period of time. So that's where the money comes in, right? That's where the need for the money comes in or donations come in.
You've taken this a step further
Hmm.
in terms of just the organization itself, but now you've also written a book.
Hmm.
Tell us a little bit about the book.
The book is called The Light in the Storm. And the idea for the book came from sharing Trevor's story to people and them responding. Um, how do I put it? With almost like hopelessness, like asking me questions like, "How do you get up? How does a parent lose a child? How do you get up in the morning? How do you function?" Not only do I have three other sons to think about, right, and a wife to think about, and
Hmm.
others that I care about to get up, but for me, it came back to a foundation, and my answer is always the same, right? So me getting to see Trevor is like an appointment on my calendar. And while that knowledge doesn't take away the daily pain of missing him, it
Hmm.
takes away the sting,
Hmm.
right? And so the book is providing that light for others that maybe don't know or believe in that. And so for me, it's the answer to 3 questions. Where did I come from? Why am I here? And where am I going?
Mm-hmm.
And my belief is that provides enough light for you to get through anything in life, even the loss of a child.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the real, the commitment to it, or the desire to get it written, had to be with talking to people that were so hopeless and didn't have that. They had people in their lives that they had lost, or like, for example, one woman whose sister had just lost a child that was 6 years old, and, and couldn't cope. It had actually been 5 years at that point,
Mm-hmm.
and she still couldn't cope.
Mm.
Right. And so I'm like, well, have her call me. I'm happy to talk to anybody. But from that came the book, right? What better way to get it out there than to have a book available to share? And it's just a book of stories of people that have lost and how they've dealt with it.
Mm-hmm.
So then it allows for exponential help and assistance of people. Because obviously all of our time is limited,
Right.
limited resources. So what better way than a book or a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
right, to get the word out?
The book will be available through the website
Mhm.
and Amazon.com, I'm sure.
Yep.
And do you see the opportunity then from the book to also turn that into some speaking engagements and even create some sort of support mechanism around the people who are dealing with this grief and trying to grasp the magnitude of what they've gone through
Yeah.
through shared experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I
Mhm.
just got done giving a talk to a group of about 1,000 people on that very thing. It's just a way to give back. It's a way for people to some either be exposed to, never have heard it, or actually reinforcing the fact that here's someone. I used to call there was a gentleman, Neil Maxwell. He said it was testifying with authority, because he had always talked about his faith, and then he got cancer, and then he had to testify to
Mhm.
it with authority. And I feel that I'm kind of put in that spot. Is that when Judy and I go out and we speak about losing a child, it's not like the neighbor lost a child. We're actually testifying with authority
Mhm.
on how you get through the loss.
Mhm.
It's not supposition. And there's other ways. It's not that our way is the only way by any means, but it's one way that people can deal with.
Well, and the ability for somebody dealing with that situation, that grief,
Mm-hmm.
to literally see you
Mm-hmm.
and hear from you and be able to read some of the stories.
Mm-hmm.
Not only does it add credibility to that authority,
Sure.
it also creates, a bond and a relationship that goes far beyond what you would see as just a presenter to an audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really does. And we've stayed connected with Sean, who's asked us to come and speak.
The heart recipient.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry. I'm with the Opioid with Sierra Donor
Oh,
Services.
got it. Okay.
So he's asked us to come and speak on multiple occasions, I think for that reason. I mean, he has a connection with us, obviously, but then he also knows that it helps the staff that he's working with when they're coping with they're working on the other side of it, the mechanical
Yes.
side of it,
Yes.
but it helps them to get through their day when they hear from us.
What's the best way for people to get in touch with you, to find the book, to learn more on the website, the variety of options that you've got to
Mhm.
support and help somebody in this situation?
Yeah, everything goes through trevorsecondchance.org. Matter of fact, this podcast will be there so people can come and listen to that. So what a great way to get our message out and who we are. And then everything is linked through trevorsecondchance.org. The
Okay.
lightinthestorm.com is also the landing page for the book, but everything's going through the website.
And the book will be available on the website as well.
It'll be there too. They'll be linked right to it. Yeah.
Okay, excellent,
Absolutely.
excellent. Brad, this is always a difficult decision for so many of the reasons that we've spoken of. But from firsthand experience, you bring the message and the value of organ donation to a very real perspective for many who may have never even considered that as an option or an opportunity. I wish you continued success on your mission, by all means, on the book, on the ability to get to so many more people through the speaking engagements that you've got through the hospitals. And I hope, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now, we hear of hospitals in Chicago and New York and, Dallas, Texas, wherever they may be saying, oh yeah, we partnered with Trevor's Second Chance and
Right.
it's really made a difference.
Yeah. I I hope to see that come true. I have a feeling it will, and I find it interesting you started with Chicago.
I'm from Chicago.
I know that. So we'll put that at the top of the list.
Excellent. Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate
before
your
we
time.
leave, I want to share with the audience that Brad is not here alone. Brad is here with his wife, Judy, his mother, Carol, his father, Jim, and today happens to be his mother's birthday as well.
Yeah.
So, what a special day for us to have, an episode and be able to record it and, put this into, perpetuity.
Yeah, appreciate it very much. They're certainly a very big part of my support system and help me do things that we do every day. So,
Which is really clear. And, I think we need to add that support system is critical. And clearly, here we are with the entire family, not only working through the program itself, but they're in the room here with you.
Right.
And this is the first time that's ever happened. Where we've had the entire family here in a mission of support through one of the nonprofit organizations. So congratulations. Another first, right?
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you. So they all three of them have certainly shaped who I am. So it's a lot of credit goes to all three of them for putting this together.
Well, happy birthday, Carol. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you for listening to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If what you heard moved you, please reach out to that organization and do what you can to help. If you like and appreciate what we're doing to support local nonprofits, please give us a positive review, subscribe, and share. If you're a nonprofit with an interest in participating in an episode, you can reach me at jeff@hearmenowstudio.com. Once again, we're grateful for the businesses who have made this program possible. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations. You can find them in Sacramento, Roseville, and Folsom. CapTrust.com. SMUD Shine Awards, helping support our nonprofit community with grants for more efficient energy usage. smud.org/shine. And Western Health Advantage, a full-service healthcare plan for individuals, employer groups, and families. westernhealth.com.